have every right to be suspicious about an election that was suspicious as hell. You are not alone. You're not crazy. There are people who want you to feel crazy. A trillion-dollar corporate media industry is telling you that you are nuts for asking questions, demanding that you move on, accept your new leader, and look away from that fraud meme, you racist Nazi. They even created a fake office for Joe Biden, the office of the president-elect. Sounds nice, but it's fake. It's not real. For the record, there's no such thing as the office of the president-elect. How insecure. These people are about as confident as Brian Stelter on a Peloton. This is not the behavior of winners. This is the behavior of feeble, thin-skinned tyrants who can't wait to have control over your life again. The media no longer dictate reality, and it's driving them nuts, driving them insane. Here's a good rule to live by. When all of the corrupt people agree on the exact same thing, and they tell you to shut up and obey, it is your right to say no, your obligation. You are not wrong to get angry when you see corruption. It is your duty to distrust the dishonest, empty, sad people who want to run and ruin your lives. It is your birthright as Americans. Questioning the idiots in charge is why we have a country in the first place. So what is the track record of the present-day idiots in charge? Have they done a single thing to earn the trust of the American people? Let's check the record. These are the same people who blocked you from seeing or sharing journalism from one of America's oldest and most respected news outlets because it hurt Joe Biden. They've admitted so. The FBI had Hunter Biden's damning laptop for over a year. They have yet to do anything with it. Consider this. The FBI had proof of the Biden family corruption in Ukraine as Donald Trump was being impeached for saying the Biden family was corrupt in Ukraine. It'll drive you crazy. Your president was impeached for a phone call, for literally nothing. No evidence, full acquittal. Nancy Pelosi handed out pens to celebrate. What a ghoul. Remember that. It was less than a year ago. This is a woman who breaks her own state's mask laws and forces businesses to open so that she can get a haircut. This is what Nancy Pelosi thinks of the law. This is how she treated the president's State of the Union speech. These are the clowns who demand that we return to civility and decency. They are the same ones who called Kavanaugh a gang rapist, 16-year-old Nick Sandmann a white supremacist, and the mobs who burned down our cities and murdered black police officers, peaceful protesters. These are not serious people. They are liars. They told you COVID would kill 2.5 million people in America, that the lockdowns would last only 15 days, that Bubba Wallace and Jussie Smollett were victims of hate crimes. They wailed when we moved the American embassy to Jerusalem because it would start World War III. The literal opposite is true. The Middle East has never been more peaceful, not in the modern era. For 4 years, everything they told you was a lie. The opposite is true. These people peddle in more unhinged conspiracy theories than a bum mumbling at a bus stop with a bag of newspapers. The only difference is that these bums own all the newspapers. They called Trump an illegitimate president for 4 years. They declared that Russian memes like this one stole the election from Hillary Clinton in 2016. Now they lecture you about how there's no way an election can be stolen, ever. That there is no evidence of voter fraud. That Joe Biden got more votes legally than any candidate in American history without campaigning. This is important. You have no obligation to believe them. Their credibility is nothing. These people are not trustworthy. They're as trustworthy as Jeffrey Epstein suicide notes written in Hillary Clinton's handwriting. You owe them nothing. Nothing. Your scorn and distrust is too good for them. No, you are not crazy for questioning them. And yes, there are empirical reasons to be deeply suspicious of the outcome of this election. President Trump received 73 million votes in this election. That's 10 million more than he received in 2016. It blows out Barack Obama's vote record. That's more legal votes than any president in history, except, of course, for Joe Biden, who barely left his basement and somehow surpassed Obama's record by a turnout of a staggering 9 million votes. How did he do that? What is especially suspicious is that Biden actually underperformed, not overperformed. According to pollster Richard Barris, compared to Hillary Clinton, Biden underperformed in every major metro area in the country except for these 4 cities: Milwaukee, Detroit, Atlanta, and Philadelphia. In those cities, Joe Biden received more votes than there were people, according to the pollsters. Nationwide, Democrats performed about as well as AOC on a Mensa application. The blue wave that pollsters and the media boomed about for months looked more like a sad puddle. Democrats lost seats and Republicans gained big time. Pelosi barely clings to her speakership today. Meanwhile, Trump won the largest non-white vote share in Republican presidential history for the last 60 years. Despite the massive increase in mail-in ballots this year, the rejection rate is shockingly low. Pennsylvania's rejection rate was 30 times lower than in 2016. That's statistically improbable, if not impossible. Dead people voted, people voting out of state, multiple voting machines malfunctioning, people voting multiple times. Just listen to the details of this Trump lawsuit, just a single one in Nevada.
We are presenting today in our formal contest that there are north of 15,000 people who voted in Nevada and another state. We are presenting that people voted in people that had already done a change of address and left the state outside of the 30-day requirement. Their ballots were still cast. We are also presenting dead voters.
It's important that we see all of the evidence, but you're not crazy for asking for evidence. And you're not crazy to think that this is not the way an election graph should look on election night. Look at these tabulations. In fact, this breaks mathematical and statistical laws. Finally, we get to Dominion voting systems. This voting system is about as trustworthy as Ilhan Omar's marriage certificates. Its software is easily hackable, we know this. Its machines can mark votes. The company employs Trump-hating Antifa members as security engineers, who then go ahead and delete their profiles. Their voting systems are used in Venezuela, and their votes are counted off of American soil, if that tells you anything. The company entrusted with counting our votes in America is not even American. It's Canadian. And the Canadian Election Board had this to say about it. They're laughing at us. Elections in Canada does not use Dominion voting systems. We use paper ballots, counted by hand, in front of scrutinizers, and have never used voting machines or electronic tabulators to count votes in our 100-year history. Perhaps, after all this, the biggest insult is that all of Canada is laughing at us.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.